Cutback for Vasilev and Lukic! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen out to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal on his Union debut? The record signing! Off and running in his first appearance for the club!
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and yes, we are actually live. Jose and I had joked about this prior to coming on and recording the podcast, and Jose was like, "It's the last time that we've done an actual live podcast." And I said, "I don't know. I think maybe the beginning of the year." It has been a hot minute. I know we did 2 episodes, or I did an episode while I was down in Florida. Jose did the interview with Danny Cruz when I was down in Florida. We obviously had the Kai Wagner interview before all that, and none of those podcasts we were live for. Yes, it was technically scheduled live. They told you guys on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever that we were live. We were not live. We are actually finally live here. So looking forward to interacting with you guys in the comment section. Be sure to share the post on YouTube, on Twitter, because StreamYard decided to change it up on us. No longer live on Facebook. So I'll have to go on the Facebook account and always just share the YouTube link. But yeah, make sure you guys are sharing it, interacting with us, because we'll definitely get to your comments. But regardless, before we start the show and everything, Jose, I feel like I got you sick through the screen. I was sick previously, and now here you are with a little bit of a cold, just like I had.
No, I'm good. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Just tired, man. It's been a long weekend, and we go back into it, and glad to be doing this live versus another recording. Not that we're trying to lie to you all or anything like that. It's just that sometimes it just works that we pre-record these things. I hope you all enjoyed. I think some of the feedback was overwhelmingly positive towards the Danny Cruz conversation. I know I enjoyed chatting with Danny. I enjoyed chatting with their press people. They have some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. They already announced some moves. I think there's more coming, including, I believe, according to my sources, an unannounced Chris Donovan sighting here in the next couple of days, I'm sure. But no, Danny was great, and I think people enjoyed seeing him again. It's been too long, and frankly, somebody who is way too talented to even be in USL anymore. To be completely honest with you, what a coach he is.
Yeah, exactly. And listening to that interview, obviously, like putting it together for the people to listen to that podcast, I was thinking, a player that didn't spend that many seasons in Philadelphia. I know he had a couple, but just talk about the impact that Danny Cruz really had in his limited amount of time in Philadelphia to really endure himself in the fan base. And he talked about it, Jose, right? That the one thing that he thinks that separated him from a lot of players was his work rate, the defensive side of his game. And yeah, I think that's always going to play a part in any team. If you're tracking back playing defense, you're going to track back, try to win back that ball. You're always going to find a way in some team's squad, I do believe. And so, yeah, just to see how endured Danny Cruz was and still is by this fan base. I know the older fan base just speaks to the type of player and person Danny was. So I enjoyed that interview, listened to it obviously more than once, setting it together, trying to make it flow as good as it did. And you did a good job leading the interview. So yeah, really enjoyed that one. And I know we got a couple comments from people that are Louisville fans, so they appreciated it too. And I know Union fans did as well. So congrats on that interview, Jose. But let's go ahead and switch topics to Philadelphia Union. They are finally back from their Marbella, Spain trip. And during the trip, the Union went 1-1-1, and the results don't really matter in preseason. I would say the things that matter most are nobody gets hurt is first and foremost, and that this team just continues to build chemistry. And I know, Jose, you and I at the beginning of the offseason, we said, we want to see the Union get a lot of their business done maybe before the Spain trip's over, definitely before the Clearwater side of preseason's done, just because you want these players to gel, you want them to mesh, and you want them to really just have as good as chemistry as they can. Yes, you guys can see it down there on the bar. We had a Stas Korzeniowski goal. Makanya scored twice. Damiani, Milan Alaski, Ben Bender. They all scored on the preseason trip in Spain. And yeah, that last game though, Jose, four goals. I mean, the only game too, by the way, that was not streamed. And I think if there was going to be any game that was streamed, it was probably going to be that one for Union fans, just because you saw multiple goals scored in it. But regardless, nobody got hurt, at least we know of, from the Union side of thing in Spain. And yeah, again, I think you just want to see these guys continue to build that chemistry, with it being such a young squad this upcoming season.
And that's just it, right? I think the majority of this trip, and as you see behind the scenes in terms of the videos that come out and social media that the team puts out, and even players themselves sharing, a lot of good bonding. I mean, I think I just watched just in passing right before coming on down, Kevin Sullivan get a dub in Fortnite with 20-some-year-old Indy Vasilev jumping like a kid, Ben Bender jumping like a kid, Frankie Westfield enjoying it too. So I think it's all about moments like that, and ultimately, making memories. But I guess Carnell is truly going to use go-karting as a go-to for this club. It seems to hit the right spot. So stream wise, man, it's still such a and I wish there was a way, right? I see what Inter Miami does. They're actually charging $5 for every single stream in partnership with One Football. I know they just had one yesterday in Colombia, I believe, in Medellin. They play Nacional. I think they Chicho Arango's new club, I think, actually. So they're offering some sort of streaming. Todd, I don't know if you did. I know I did. I think our friend Jillian did. I'm not sure if Mike did. We gave $5 to another European club to watch a preseason game, and then we were very lucky to have a stream for free on YouTube for the very first game. So listen, if I was Philadelphia, I would look at all this and say, shoot, if we could just, I mean, is $5 per stream worth it? I don't know. That's for you to decide. But what if there was a, $15, $10, honestly, what it should be, and again, I know that there's probably issues that they have to work out with the other competing club, more on that. But what if it was $15? It all goes to the Philadelphia Union Foundation. $15 to watch every single preseason game, 3 or 4 or whatever that are happening in Europe. Maybe it's more like 25 or 30, becomes a donation to the Union Foundation. And that includes the preseason games in Florida as well, which should be a hell of a lot easier to stream. And where I get hung up on some of these European teams and maybe them having issues with the streaming, or maybe it is genuinely the Union, is that even this last game that did not have a stream was an open door game at the Marbella Football Center. So if you were near Marbella, Spain, you could just walk in and watch, or I'm sure there was a fee. I'm not sure. But it's not like there was some sort of limitation saying, no, there's absolutely no way to watch this. So to me, it's frustrating. But then again, I know I'm not the norm. I'm the exception in a way, because you and I and many others consume so much of this club just because we like to watch and certainly report and learn. But I think there's a missed opportunity there. And maybe this is a big missing point of the Apple deal. Maybe it should be a mandatory, every single preseason game needs to be streamed for these guys or something like that. No idea, man. No idea. But glad everybody's healthy. I think in the Nordsjælland game, I had a scare there, or there was a scare there for Alado with a tackle where he was rolling around the ground for a little bit. But all in all, man, not much to take out of those games outside of what you mentioned. Everybody's healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And, one thing that you mentioned that I actually do want to touch on, and I think I think soccer fans and baseball fans are probably pretty similar, where I don't know what the Phillies do in market for spring training. I don't know if you guys get every single spring training game on TV. The Orioles, you certainly do not, but you get a decent amount of them. But you see it all the time in different areas of the Orioles sphere where fans are like, yeah, we want to see every single game that we can possibly see. Yes, I know the Orioles broadcast on the radio every single game, but watching and listening are two completely different things. And I think that's where baseball fans and soccer fans are similar, where yeah, they crave for that preseason baseball. Yes, the results don't matter, but they want to see new guys. They want to see some young guys coming up through the academy, or in baseball, you got guys coming up through AA, AAA, these guys who you expect to make some sort of impact at the next level. And yeah, I would love to see MLS and Apple maybe force it upon teams to say, hey, look, we want to draw as many people in as possible, because don't you think there's Inter Miami fans with all their $1 million signings that they've made this past offseason, all these different players? Don't you think their fans would want to watch those games to go ahead and just be sickos and watch how that team gels before the regular season starts up and CONCACAF Champions Cup? Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's not just Philadelphia fans I want to watch this. I think it's soccer fans in general. And look, you even see it, Jose, in when teams in Europe come over to the US. Those games get streamed on different streaming services, and fans crave watching new signings, new players. And so I don't know, maybe that's something that gets tackled next offseason, maybe it doesn't, but I feel like this is a conversation you and I have been having for years and years, that just make these games accessible.
Yeah, and listen, like I hate to be so crass, but I'm thinking that even that first stream that was on YouTube was genuinely a phone on a tripod, because I think I kept on hearing Super Mario sounds of like someone's maybe getting texted or a ringtone of some sort. So it doesn't have to be an elaborate red camera with a whatever lens on top of a I don't know, gimbal while somebody's moving, and then a switcher to send to a different angle. Like, doesn't have to be that, but it also doesn't have to become what it is, which is, relying and hoping that another team does something. Though last year, I feel like the Union did surprise us. Was it one of the Florida games that was streamed there towards the end? I can't recall, but I feel like the Union did do one that they streamed themselves, because I remember sharing a stream, and then I think Union PR reached out, said, "No, can you please share this stream because sponsorship or something." Yeah, Cincinnati was streamed, so they can do it. It's just, can they get an agreement to do it? And listen, Todd, as we talk about watching these games, watching the goals, etc., I think equally as important to make sure that we see everything that's happening as best as we can, right? Again, maybe we are very much the exception, but I think of Inter Miami with Sergio Reguilón, who obviously had a grade 2, whatever it was, to his ligament, that in the middle of a friendly, most teams would just say, oh, there's a substitution, and then hope that, no one asks about it in a press conference or something like that. I'm not saying that that's how the Union would operate, but like, you can see it with your own 2 eyes to actually see what happened during that game. So again, man, I don't know. Could it be they played 3 in Spain. They're going to play 2 in Florida?
2, yes. Tampa Bay and Cincy.
All right. I would pay $40 to watch that. Just 40. I mean, 1 month worth of. I know that's very expensive. That's the HBO Max level of paying, but like, I would. For sports, I'll watch it. I'll pay for it. That means I get something to do that evening, especially in this very football's coming to the end. I don't care about either team, so go Seattle, I guess. There's no baseball. To your question, the Philadelphia Phillies do put every single spring season game, I believe just about every preseason game on NBCSN / whatever Peacock service that they use. So there's no baseball right now, and there's no soccer outside of international. And of course, that's like jumping through hoops through VPNs to get to watch it. So it'd be nice to just be able to, this brand new Union app, right? Be able to use it and just go into a stream. Shit, like and sorry, Val. I guess there's hockey, but that's not for me.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the Philadelphia Union app, honestly. As soon as you mentioned that, Jose, I'm like, oh yeah, they did indeed come up with a Philadelphia Union app, and yeah, I remember getting the press release, and I don't know what happened to like all the hype around that app. Thought there would
Yeah,
be
this is actually a very good point, and I know I'm probably talking. Yes, what I mentioned is very much above a month, but I think the caveat for me to feel comfortable paying the whatever 35, $40, I want it to be a donation to the Philadelphia Union Foundation. That's where I'm okay with it being more than an MLS season pass month's worth. If it was cheaper, sure. I just hope that they continue to work with the. I mean, obviously they're going to continue to work, but it'd be nice to continue to do things for the Philadelphia Union Foundation that benefit us as well, right? What's in it for me type of thinking. But you get a good sense and you get to watch. So I don't know, for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's a fair point, and yeah, I mean it's but we'll see. I guess that's going to be next year's situation to potentially tackle, but let's go ahead and I guess wrap up things in Spain. I mean, there's nothing really that I want to talk about that really stands out from any of the individual games. Obviously, like I said, the game that had the multiple goals scored was uh, the game that wasn't streamed. But again, the results don't matter. It's the chemistry, it's the intensity, it's the philosophy. How many times did we hear Bradley Cornell talk about that last season? The philosophy, getting the team to learn the philosophy. And now this year, it was more so okay, working with players individually, maybe a little bit more, learning their roles. And we saw multiple different back lines for the Union playing Nathan Herrio at left back, Frankie Westfield at left back, unnamed trialist, which is so weird. We all know it was Giovanni Sakara. Like, come on, who are we kidding? Playing right back at times, Nathan playing right back, Frankie playing right back. Mixing up your strikers, playing Ben Bender at one point at left back too, and just these are the games, right? This is what you want to see, Jose. Just experimenting because they don't matter, and seeing who can thrive in those type of situations, and that's why I like this trip that the Union have now done back to back years to Marbella, Spain against European competition. Because yeah, let's face it. I mean, more times than not, those teams are going to give you a better battle than MLS teams. Again, how many times do we have to talk about Slavia Prague last year? After they got done at Marbella, they went straight into the Europa League. So I mean, they were pretty much amped up, ready to go, and so
Mikalua this year,
yeah,
actually.
exactly with Michelin, and so we know exactly what this Spain trip does for the Union. We saw the effects that it had, or at least I would like to think it had on the Union coming out to a hot start against Orlando City, Cincinnati last year. And yeah, obviously going on to win the Supporter Shield. And so I do think Marbella had an impact on this team having the type of run that they had last year. And let's not forget about the chemistry too. You mentioned it, go-karting, and I'm thinking maybe Jose, maybe Bradley Cornell's wanting to do some go-karting to still remind these guys, hey, look, yeah, I may not be on the field with you guys, but I can still win. I can still win at something against you guys. And yeah, I think I saw something that it said that Bradley Cornell had won the race yet again, Bedoya second, something like that. So yeah, I mean, just seeing different team bonding exercises, and you mentioned it, Jose, it's something this team did last year, and look, it seems to work. It seems like I'm sure these guys aren't going out every single week go karting, and let's be honest too. How often is the whole team hanging out with Jose? Oh, hanging out with each other. So yeah, doing something like go karting, pretty fun. So, yeah, for me, this whole trip was just getting fit, trying guys out to different positions, and seeing what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's just it, man. Like there's not much more to it. I think you could read between the lines, and I know we're going to talk about a couple of things that happened while they were in Spain in terms of roster moves, but all in all, I think successful. I appreciate that they go to Spain. I appreciate that they get away from it all, and not. I remember hearing from a player who told me once that, like, before the Union started going to Europe, and sure they had done international trips before, but before they had gone on to Spain, they often complained about, like, shit, why are we playing these guys? Like that, this is going to come up to maybe potentially 5 or 6 times we're going to see this single team in a year, right? Because they just had to play them in preseason. So good to see, good to see the variety, good to see the different levels. I would say that an FC Nordsjælland, is that how you say it, Todd? Okay. Is probably way higher competition than Sigma Olomouc or what was the first team or the last team? I can't remember. Whatever.
Say it again.
Yeah, right. So I just appreciate that they sort of go back and forth. And mark my words, Todd, we have this in writing. We have this in writing in our chat. Number 22, Prince, I forget what his first name is, for Nordsjælland, who tore up Giovanni Sakara, who's, I think, playing a little bit out of position. But that guy, number 22, who just took the number 10 jersey, Prince, whatever, he's going to be a big thing in Europe. The way he played, dude, he is Raheem Sterling reincarnated, the way he ran around the field there. And he doesn't have the goofy run, I don't think, but the way that he can just take people one-on-one. Big player.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, only at 18 years old, and the right to Dream Academy. I mean, it does not hurt to have the scouting and the money that's thrown in, and the ties that they have with just up and coming players to Ghana. Which, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Jose, but Michael Essien, I didn't know that he was an assistant coach with Nordsjælland. I mean,
no idea.
One of the greatest players to ever play for Ghana. One of the greatest players I would go to say to play in the Premier League as a number 6. Again, we got to get people that vote in Team of the Season for MLS to put more respect on number 6s, because they do matter. They do absolutely matter. And Markus Essien, one of the greatest ever. There's a reason why. Jose Mourinho took him from Chelsea to Real Madrid and brought him back. I mean, that important of a player. But let's go ahead and talk about player movement, Jose, and I guess we'll talk about the deal, the player that you announced that was being finalized, and then the union came out and announced it as official. That is Neil Pierre being loaned to Lyngby until June 2026. And yeah, I mean, you saw some negative comments. I saw some negative comments on social media about this, but I think this is a good move, honestly, for Neil Pierre, because I think it's pretty telling without having to come out and say that Neil Pierre probably isn't exactly where this coaching staff would want him. I mean, looking further to his limited and absolute limited minutes last year with the first team, made his debut against Vancouver, played primarily with Union 2. And yes, we know that Neil Pierre is a big prospect, and we know the Union have had good center back prospects coming up through the academy, and Austin Trussy and Mark McKenzie. And I do understand, fans wanting to see Neil Pierre maybe get a chance with the first team, but we talk about it all the time. Jose graduating from Union 2. Andrew Rick certainly graduated from Union 2. Jesus Bueno graduated when he was playing consistently, and now he's with the first team. And so there's only so much you can do in MLS Next Pro. And I would argue that, yeah, I mean, this is a league that's probably better than the USL Championship. And you get Neil out of his comfort zone, goes to a brand new country, and yeah, it doesn't hurt that the Union have this partnership with Lyngby. But I think the thing that probably surprised me the most, Jose, is that it's a short-term loan until June 2026, which I would imagine, okay, the Union see how he does in Lyngby in Denmark, and then assess where he's at then. Does he come back? Does he fit into the first team? Do they send him out on another loan? But I guess it's all depending on how he does in Lyngby these next couple months.
Yeah, so fun story about that one. I think that one went live 5:30, 6 in the morning out of the Seattle Tacoma Airport in Seattle, Washington, just sort of sitting there plugging away. And I actually had to edit it because I made the mistake. I assumed that Lyngby was still in the first division but they got relegated last year. And I guess there's a USL coach that's managing the team. That somebody was it John Morrissey on Blue Sky let me know. Hey, I think the manager, if I recall, the manager for Lyngby is actually a former USL guy, so that's why I know that they're in the second division. It's like, please, thank you, like let me edit away. So just a little fun anecdote on sometimes where we find ourselves doing some of this stuff that like maybe we're not expecting at 5:36 in the morning in an airport, but yeah, I was kind of shocked, honestly. I assumed that maybe there was going to be an opportunity for Neil, considering you know what the term blue chip means, right, Todd? Okay, considering he's a blue chip prospect, like I genuinely thought he would have gone maybe to some of the places where he had trials, right? Was it Real Sociedad out in Spain? Mönchengladbach, I think was another place. Not necessarily that he was going to go straight into like a first team or anything. Maybe play with the under 21s, maybe go somewhere, the B team practice team, which would probably be a good level, but obviously still not game time. I'm still not sold that this is a higher level than USL. I trust Soccer Minds for sure. I trust Bradley Cornell. I trust the brain trust collective that the union have put together here with the group to make good decisions and make the right decisions. But I guess I got to watch some of this ball to realize and maybe learn whether or not it is indeed better than USL. But based on what was shortly shared by Lyngby, it looked like Neil had a really good time in his first outing, 45 minutes. They won their second friendly. Neil played, I think, from the 60th minute onward to the 120th. I think they did a 120 match, maybe a little bit longer, whatever the math is for all of that. But ultimately, I think you're right. And I know Bradley, maybe if I recall, said it as well, to get him out of his comfort zone, because even just as recent as today, I think I saw Neil post online about, how difficult and confusing it is for him when players talk to him in Danish. So that is very much getting out of your comfort level and just having to figure it out and let soccer be the language and learn from others. So excited to find a way to watch these games. How I'm going to make it happen, I don't know. But on the 6-month thing, I'm really wondering here, Todd, and I'm not here to break news right now, but I wonder if this 6-month thing is sort of dependent or sort of like a fail-safe switch if there is the right offer for Owethu Mekanya, a team in Europe that needs to load up for the fall season. Excuse me, maybe there's injuries during the World Cup, and a European team sees an Owethu Mekanya as an opportunity to reload. Not that it has to come down to that, but if that happens, great. You get Neil back and maybe you plug him in right away. If that doesn't happen, what's stopping the union from extending that for another 6 months? I think it's a win-win all around. So not much more I can add than that. Just happy for Neil. It sounded like it was initiated by him and sort of just carried out by the team. And Lyngby just sort of makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. My apologies. I guess I could have got some clips from Bradley Cornell's press conference, which feels like a million years ago, where we're talking about Neil getting loaned out. But yeah, I mean, from what Bradley said to the media, it did sound like it was Neil who initiated the loan, which fair play to the player, right? Where if the writing seems like it's on the wall that you're not going to get many opportunities. And like I said, I mean, if you feel like you graduated, we certainly feel like Neil Pierre graduated from MLS Next Pro, then why not go out and loan him to another team? And your point about Mekanya, that's a fair point, Jose. And last I checked, Hugo Bruce is still the manager of South Africa, and I do feel bad for Mekanya that he is a national team manager that just does not rate MLS. But the flip side of that, the player's name is right there that just went to Chicago Fire, who's been a staple of getting called up to the national team, which started this whole Hugo doesn't rate MLS thing when he left South Africa to go to MLS. If he's getting called up to the national team still, then I would wonder, okay, then what's stopping Makanya from getting called up? Because I do think that if Makanya was to get called up to the national team, was to go off to have a decent showing at the World Cup, we know what World Cups can do for players, Jose. We talk about Daniel John Jock. I mean, he's in an extremely difficult group, but let's say that he shuts down Brazil. Teams in Europe are absolutely going to be hitting up the Union, and I think they're going to be shocked to find out that Daniel John Jock, if teams don't know who he is, plays in MLS, saying, how's this guy playing in MLS? And he's shutting down Brazil. What's stopping the Union from getting a big offer? And I hear fans say all the time that, they get annoyed that players go out on international duty. We need to sign less players that are on their national teams because it's way too many players going away on international duty. But Jose, these big competitions, all it takes is one big performance, and you can make a buttload of money selling this team or this player to a bigger team in Europe. And again, I know there's people in this fan base that's like, oh, we're tired of selling players, but it's the nature of the business. And I think that's a very fair point about Makanya that I maybe didn't think of, Jose, that he is coming down on his contract. I think 2027's it for Makanya. I don't have it in front of me, but I mean, if he has a strong start to the first half of the season, if he gets caught up to the World Cup, chances of Makanya being here past the summertime, I think increases his chances of getting sold if he has a strong start and caught up to the World Cup. But that's reasons why you go out there and you scout for multiple windows, not, okay, this upcoming window. That's why you're setting your transfer windows, multiple windows ahead, not just in the current. But I don't have anything else to add on, Neil. What about you, Jose?
No, nothing. Excited to see. I hope, and I don't imagine that it would, but I hope that a move like this doesn't hit his stock when it comes to representing the U.S. internationally at the youth level. I can't imagine, but play will tell.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go ahead and move on to something else, Jose, that you reported. Markus Anderson, loan being finalized to USL side Brooklyn FC. The Union, no comment back to you on this. So, you're the one who reported on this, Jose. I'll let you go ahead and take this away.
Yeah, so I actually had heard about this move at the same time I heard about Neil, but wasn't quite sure how far along it was, whereas Neil's was, I guess, all but announced. So it's been brewing for a while, especially if, as I sort of hinted, and you probably could figure it out if you looked hard enough, and not just the videos from Spain, but also the rosters of people who played and didn't play in Spain. I think everybody got minutes, so to not see Markus Anderson's obviously pretty telling. Also, the CONCACAF Champions Cup roster, he's not there listed. So, especially on a first-team deal, would be a little shocking if they didn't have plans to move him the way that, Matt Real wasn't listed a couple of years back. And what's his name? Joaquin Torres wasn't listed as well. Moves were brewing to not lock him in into any one roster. Though I think the rules have changed a little bit on that. But anyways, he goes to Brooklyn FC per sources. I understand that the deal may be already finished, but I always put finalizing in case something falls apart. Has been practicing with Brooklyn this past week, as I understand it. And he gets to reunite with Marlon LeBlanc, which incredible. Good for him. I'm happy for him. This might be the right level for him. I'm not sure that MLS was it for him, meaning that this was the end goal. I don't know that he was ever going to last. Obviously had a great goal against Charlotte in 2025, June 14, I believe it was. But outside of that, not much more to it. Excited to watch him in USL with that Brooklyn team.
Yeah, and he gets a coach that obviously believes in him. a player or a coach that got the most out of him at the Union 2 level. Scored his only goal with Union last season against Charlotte, game-winning goal. And yeah, I mean, Markus is a player that was definitely unheard of when the Union signed him a couple seasons ago. 13 goals, 8 assists, 40 appearances with Union 2 in about 2,700 minutes played. And yeah, still only 22 years old. But when you approach that age, you probably want to be playing higher quality soccer, in my opinion, than MLS Next Pro. And certainly the USL is going to be that. And we'll go ahead and see what happens with Markus at the USL level with former Union 2 head coach Marlon LeBlanc. And I know the Union were experimenting with Markus as a dual number 10 at times last season. Yeah, when he was announced coming to the Union played him as a forward, but he's a versatile player, a player that definitely has speed, and player that, yeah, we'll never forget what happened a couple seasons ago with Jim Curtin turning the ball over, and yes, that Cincinnati game, and just felt like his Union first team career just went downhill ever since that moment there, Jose. But had to work hard. A lot of unfortunate injuries with Union too, and he has worked his way back from multiple injuries, and to see him now go again to a higher level and I'm sure make the most of those opportunities. I think this loan will be well for Markus Anderson. But you also had brought up the Union's Rauser Jose for CONCACAF Champions Cup, and I'll go ahead and just pull it out real quick. I mean, I think it's a couple days prior to games being official, you can still add players to the roster. So, yeah, this roster certainly isn't set in stone. And quickly going over it, I mean, I don't see a Eddie Davis or a Sal Livers listed on this either. We'll see what their futures hold. And again, I would maybe argue too that maybe they should potentially be loaned out too, and maybe they've hit their ceiling at Union too, and maybe they should go out and test the waters. You would think, okay, maybe Luna, Eddie Davis, or Sal Livas to Lyngby, like Neil Pierre, and see if they can go ahead and kick it in European waters, just like you did a few seasons ago with Nelson Pierre. So, yeah, I'll be curious to see what the Union do with that partnership with Lyngby. This is the first that loan between Lyngby and Philadelphia for Neil Pierre, but the Union's CONCACAF Champions Cup roster definitely not finalized here, Jose. And those three players, Sal, Eddie, and Markus, quickly looking over this, are the only players that aren't listed from the first team. So, yeah, a lot can change and everything. And it doesn't mean just because they're not on this roster, it doesn't mean that, yeah, they won't be with the Union.
I guess I'm most in shock that there's a person born in 2009 as part of this roster, which completely.
I don't see Stas' name either, by the way.
What's that?
I don't see Stas's name.
No, and that's where I think this is still interesting. And again, it's not to say that they're pending loans or anything. At least I don't know, but it could just be that maybe they don't want to attach them just yet in case they go out and find players, that type of thing. So, listen, in terms, by the way, Eddie Davis, if I recall correctly, he did trial with Lyngby last year at one point or another. He went overseas to go over there. At least I was told. I'm not sure if I was able to corroborate it, but that's what I had heard. But this looks totally fine outside of the kids and Stas, who is not a kid. I don't see anything wrong with this outside of surely some more signings coming that will get added. And if not, for whatever reason, that's where you fall back into adding some of these younger guys. So not to freak out, not to worry about it too much, unless it was like, I don't know, man. If I didn't see Rafanella there, I would be a little more concerned for him than anything.
Yeah, like you said a couple seasons ago, a Matt Real or Joaquin Torres.
Was CJ Olney on there, by the way? I don't even remember.
No, I don't see CJ Olney.
Interesting. Again, that's one I maybe wonder a little bit more because he did have a loan stint last year. But I guess I should ask around a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we keep saying, I mean, this definitely isn't finalized, and I saw some people freaking out on social media, Jose, when you had posted this. So nothing to freak out on. But as we go ahead and get ready to wind down the podcast, let's talk about the one deal that is official. Stas Korzeniowski signed to the first team. He is signed through 2026. Does have options for 2027 and 2028. Which, by the way, the Union, when they announced the signing of Jeff Siri Larson, they announced that shortened season part of the option, but you don't get it this press release with Stas. So I don't know. Maybe we're still figuring out what's happening for that shortened season. But Korzeniowski, 22 years old, spent his first pro season last year with Union 2 in 2025. 25 appearances in all comps, 12 goals, 1 assist in 1,418 minutes. And yeah, towards the end of the season, he really started to find his form with Union 2, as I know Kyle and Jillian Almanino covering that team extensively, scoring a brace in the Eastern Conference quarterfinal against FC Cincinnati, as the Union would go on against New York Red Bulls and fall in the final. Also scored a goal in that game, but scored 9 goals in his last 7 matches, scored the first goal in preseason for the Union. And yeah, I know I saw some silly comment on social media that like, oh wow, he scores a goal and he gets rewarded with a first team contract. Like, are people serious? Like, that's not how this stuff happens. It's these moves, these deals are in the works well before something like that happens in preseason. It's not FIFA. Like, I feel like people live in this FIFA mindset. Oh, I have this young player in my academy that scored. Let me go ahead, or Football Manager, this guy scored. Let me go ahead and give him a goal. And no, it's not how these deals work. But yeah, happy to see Stas go ahead and get a first team deal after having a successful season, a good first pro season with Union 2 after being drafted in the 2024 Super Draft, 53rd overall, coming out of Penn, where he had 32 goals, 17 assists, and 69 appearances. And again, Jose, I appreciate the college game. I know you do. I know our good friend Mark Kelkenberg appreciates the college game. There is a pathway from college to the professional level. I know it's not typical of the Philadelphia Union, but it's there. It is there. And Stas Korzeniowski is a living proof of there being a pathway. It might be a slight pathway to the college route to a first team deal, but it's still there. And to come out and score 12 goals in your first full pro season, congrats to him. And a player that I think maybe a lot of people didn't know a ton of. I don't think people are watching a lot of Ivory League soccer in college. And yeah,
Did you call it Ivory?
Isn't Penn an Ivy
Oh
League?
yeah, I thought you call it
I
Ivory,
didn't say Ivory, yeah, I corrected
which would
myself.
be
Ivy.
pretty on the nose for
Yeah,
Ivy League teams. But
yeah,
yeah,
Ivy. Yeah, Ivy. But yeah, again, to see this unique pathway when you look at how the Philadelphia Union typically do things, maybe not so typical if you look at Orlando City, but yeah, regardless, gets first team deal guaranteed through 2026 with a couple options.
listen, Mark Kelkenberg and I tried to interview Stas when he was in college. He agreed to the interview. Once he sat in front of the camera and his assistant AD was there with us, he said, I don't want to, after he was drafted, I don't want to get in trouble with Ernst Tanner. We're doing an interview without the Union knowing. So I chuckle a little at that because, like, you're not an employee of MLS. You can still do whatever you want. And frankly, I'm not here to ask you about roster decisions. I'm not here to ask you about your political opinion. I'm not here to ask you about any of that shit. I just want to ask you about your time at Penn and, being part of a rare path, right? Which is kind of what you described, or an increasingly rare path to get to MLS as a whole, right? Via college. So I chuckle because I hate to say it this way, but I think Mark and I just saw a lot of fear in his eyes when we finally sat with him on video, and he decided to just dance around it all and just I genuinely declined. He's just like, I really don't want to get in trouble. But kid went on went on a great run last year. I personally wasn't sure how this was going to go in terms of his time at the Union. I thought maybe he was going to be a 2-year Union player and Ernst Tanner sort of moves on, right? I don't know what I certainly don't think Leandro's was it Leandro?
Soria. Yeah.
Soria. I don't think he's back because he's training in the Quinta in Argentina with friends and whatever, doing some gym workouts, wearing Union shorts, but all by himself. So I don't know what happens after those first 2 years, but it seems like the Union two sort of rotate, maybe knowing what the pipeline looks like. So Stas made it, gets himself a first team deal. My guess is he probably lands as a rookie deal, like 90 something.
Yeah, it's gonna be cheap.
Yeah. So not a bad player. Cheaper than Chris Donovan for sure. Is he better than Chris Donovan? I don't know. Chris Donovan was obviously a magician of MLS Next Pro. Stas was becoming a magician of MLS Next Pro, and maybe he will this year, where I think I'm fairly certain that's where 95% of his minutes will come in. MLS Next Pro. I don't know how he would break past Alado and Damiani and maybe Alaska if he goes up top. Not sure how that works unless there's a serious issue with injuries.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw comments on social media like, yeah, he'll be our number 3 striker. And I don't really look at him as the number 3. I look at him more as a 4. And yeah, you can put Milan up there certainly as a striker where he spent time with San Diego up top. But with injuries and whatnot and this team needing creativity, I think we'll see a lot of minutes come from Milan at the number 10, unless the Union go out there and sign another number 10. But I wouldn't be surprised too, right, that they go out and sign or hopefully sign another striker. I know there were some rumors out there. We'll see what happens. I haven't heard anything. I don't believe we've heard anything yet either, Jose. But yeah, I think there's still going to be moves done. Martinez looks all but certain, I know, posting his goodbyes. I mean, look, we got an official follow on the podcast, and so if that isn't enough confirmation that he's coming to the Philadelphia Union, then I don't know what is. But Makanya did the same thing too, by the way. Before Makanya had signed with the Union, followed the podcast, and then it was announced that he signed a U22 deal. So yeah, I mean, if you want to go ahead and look at what Philadelphia Union players are potentially signing with the Union, if they follow the Free Kick Pod on Instagram, then I think that's all but certain that they're coming to the Union. But
yo, shout out! I was thinking about this, Todd, and I know maybe this is going to get us over the hour mark, but thank goodness that Twitter, at least, people can't see the things that you like, the people that you follow anymore. I don't think, just because ever since I started sort of gaining some more traction and certainly joining you on the podcast and obviously the work that we do with Mike or whatever, the amount of players that start following you, I'm starting to get what you're describing, right? Of like, oh, it's good that they don't see that, this person follows me or that this and that. So it's sort of a saver in a lot of ways for people.
I wonder if players realize that yeah, all that stuff's semi-private on at least Twitter. I know you can see who's following who on Instagram and everything like that, unless you have private accounts and all that. But yeah, it is interesting when you get those follows or those random like oh, you are active on social media. You do pay attention to what we do or don't say. So yeah, it is nice to get that small bit of serotonin that, oh yeah, this person knows I exist.
Your heart rate went a little higher, right? Until, and this is the thing that people, I think we don't realize or we don't speak out loud, right? Because we go and talk to these guys after the games. We request them for interviews separately. You've gone to practices. I've gone to practices to interview players. You sort of just like, this is just a dude, right?
Yeah.
So you lose a lot of that like starstruckness where like, if I was to go out to Italy and walk around the city of Napoli and I saw Kevin De Bruyne, I'd lose my shit. Like I would be starstruck to the moon and back. Like that would be unbelievable. But some of these guys, he's sort of like, oh, that's Mikkel Ua over in King of Prussia. Cool. You know, like you just gotta let it go.
So many stories of people like running into these guys in Philadelphia or the suburbs of Philadelphia, and it's like, yeah, they're humans just like you and I. They go out and have normal lives just like us. I mean, they may, for the most part, earn, I would say, more money than majority of the fan base. But look, at the end of the day, they're just normal people, and I try to tell people that all the time when I'm like, yeah, I'm in the locker room interviewing these people, and they think it's the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, they're just normal people. Like,
I lost my shit during the Club World Cup. That one hit me pretty hard too, where it's just like, Cole Palmer really does look as stupid as he looks. You know, like he really does look as goofy as he looks. So yeah, all right, cool. And then you go and see some monsters like Tosin, center back for Chelsea. Like you kind of just look up and you're like, shit, you are as tall as you look, right? So yeah, it's sort of just all blends and happens. So yeah, Henier Martinez, man. Now my guess is that a lot of it had to do with the instability in South America, but I could be wrong. Maybe there was something that needed to happen in terms of paperwork that had nothing to do with what's going on in South America. So any day now, leave it at that. Don't want to share more. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
For sure. I'll say I'll go ahead and share a story, and then we'll get to Blunder of the Week, which we haven't done in a long time. But the only person I would say that I was like, wow, I don't know what to say. I cannot believe I'm in the same room as you, is Wayne Rooney when he's with DC United. Being a Manchester United fan since 2006 and just watching him score incredible goals for England with Manchester United, it's like, who am I? Like, I'm a absolute nobody. This guy has played against the greatest players, the greatest teams in the world, and I'm in the same room as him. I was like, I have nothing. I don't know what to ask. And the only time that I was in the same room with Rooney was, remember, Jose, with Leagues Cup, they would bring in the away manager, then the home team's manager. I wish a little bit that MLS maybe would do something like that to expose those managers a little bit more. But yeah, it was pretty cool being in the room with Wayne Rooney and yeah, seeing, okay, yeah, he's not as tall as, and I knew he wasn't that tall, but it's like, yeah, he's not that tall. Or seeing Jordi Alba during Leagues Cup too. I remember we were in the interview room, and that to me was nothing, but I was like, holy crap, you were short. Like,
yeah,
you don't
man.
realize until you get up to these people and you're like, yeah, you're either taller than I thought you were, or you're really not that tall. But yeah, Wayne Rooney is the only player or person that I've ever said, yeah, I genuinely don't know what to say because I can't believe I'm in the room with you. But let's go ahead and talk about Blunder of the Week, and I'll go ahead and let you lead this, Jose, because
Sure.
I think this is something that you obviously brought to people's attention on Twitter. I don't know if you posted on Blue Sky, but you certainly let your thoughts be known on Twitter. And this is something that I'm pretty upset by, but you being Latino, I'm sure it hits a little bit different than it does for a white boy like myself. So go ahead, Jose. You can go ahead and lead Blunder of the Week.
Yeah, no, I don't know exactly how to go about this because obviously my feelings are very different than most. As someone who certainly goes well out of his way to share the Spanish language, certainly within the sport, with people as best as I can, right? Like I go well out of my way to watch some of these games in Spanish when I could obviously just, my tablet gives me fits. I got to figure out how to get it to give me the Spanish commentary, or I go back into the into the vault when I put the videos of all the goals in the different languages, and I have to listen to that. Don't have to. I choose to listen to Dave Leno because I know that radio feed goes away right away. I don't know how. Who's the guy on Twitter, Philly guy, that does so well with the radio shit all the time?
David begins with a P, right? Is his first name David? It might not be.
No.
Picone?
Yeah, Picone. Picconne, I think. Whatever. I don't know how to save radio. Let me just continue. So I go out of my way to bring these awesome calls. I listen to the broadcast and Nick Picone. Thank you, Jillian. I switch between radio feeds because even 2 years ago, I don't know if you recall, Jim Curtin let it spill with the Spanish commentators during the interview portion of the week that Kevin Sullivan was actually gonna play. His plan was to have him play in Canada, but because of the the difference in laws, it all switched. So I think even that piece of my voice made it to that dumb documentary that they put on Apple TV, whatever, months ago. So all that to say that you get variety, you get a lot of really cool moments with Spanish in the game. But to see Pablo Maurer's reporting, which obviously a lot of these commentators already knew, someone finally spoke with Pablo. Pablo let it be known after checking with the league and sources, etc., that they're cutting just about, I think, by half the number of Spanish commentators. So sure, getting George Metellus for CONCACAF Champions Cup brought about a lot of great memories, which I hope it's the case with a lot of these. The union and MLS as a whole is going to have a lot of single person broadcasts in the Spanish language, which is a shame, such a shame, because it's genuinely a guy. Todd, I don't think you particularly enjoy him, but when you do the podcast by yourself, or where you used to do the podcast by yourself, it's not as easy. It's not as fun. I don't think. You can correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm a bad company, please let me know. Don't be shy. But there's something about doing it with somebody else in the room, to be watching the game and bouncing things back and forth. But all of that is just about gone, where they're gonna select specific matches to have multiple people, and we know what those matches are gonna be. It's gonna be Inter Miami and whoever else they play, and maybe the periodic, if Philadelphia's top of the East and they play Cincinnati, who's second place or whatever, like they might consider that as a juicy enough broadcast that they'll send two commentators, but it's not going to be around the board two commentators for every single thing. So, and listen, I get it. The telemetry is probably telling them a lot of things that maybe it isn't worth the investment, but I do believe that this is where the league and Apple should be lost leaders and just put their shoulder into it, because they're not just going to magically get followers by doing this. There's just no way that this magically suddenly turns the table, makes them profitable. Suddenly they get a gajillion more followers. If anything, the average Spanish speaker is going to turn on and hear a single voice commentating. That's going to feel so amateurish that it's probably going to turn off a lot of people if this is their first time listening or watching a Spanish game of MLS. Not the greatest first impression. So I'm rambling. I'm a little fired up about it, but I get it. I'm very much understanding of the business side of thing. I think you understand that as much, Todd. I think listeners understand that as much too. But again, this is one place where cutting costs is not it. So best of luck to all the people who got laid off by Apple. I'm sure that they have many, many other gigs to work. And just a damn shame. We'll see how it plays out this year, and maybe the reverse course for next year. But at that point, you're sort of already thinking, what does the next TV deal look like? Because this one's running out after shortening it.
Not good.
No, not good at all. But, and you talk about reversing course, which is comical when MLS started to call games just at a separate location down in Florida, on monitors, and not having every single commentators on site. And in Pablo's article, he announced that, okay, MLS is going back to being fully on site. And you and I, Jose, talk to commentators, and every single commentator that we talk to says they would rather be on site than calling a game from a monitor, because one, you get the atmosphere, your calls, because of the atmosphere around you, definitely plays into effect. You can see a lot more with your eyes than just following whatever the camera is watching. And so I feel like maybe MLS kind of snuck that in there to Pablo, like, okay, yeah, we're cutting costs, we're cutting our broadcasters down from the Spanish side of things, but we're going to be on location for every single game this season, just like we were a couple seasons ago when we started in MLS, and then we took it away last year, and now we're back. We're back. We know we made a mistake, but we're back. But what did it cost you? Did it cost you? Is Apple saying, okay, we'll go back to having every single commentator team being on location because we're cutting away Spanish commentators? maybe that's part of it. It's certainly expensive to travel, and these commentators, I know, talking to some different commentators that went from local teams to now working nationally with Apple and MLS. A lot of these people move their families, move their homes in these cities to go to bigger cities, whether it be in New York or get closer to New York. People moving down to Florida, and yeah, I do feel bad for these broadcasters that uprooted their families to go and follow the job. Now to be told, yeah, we're cutting a job, you're not back, and it's got to be tough. And yeah, I know that it's all with the business, and they know what they signed up for. And I'm sure there's commentators that have been laid off before, and went to the next. But yeah, it is a shame just seeing MLS cut out a good significant portion of their broadcasters for Spanish language. And MLS, they love to harp on, yeah, you can broadcast us, listen to us in over 100 different countries worldwide, no blackouts. But let's not forget how big of a language Spanish is. And I get it. MLS would hit back and say, well, we're not getting rid of the Spanish feed. But to your point, Jose, there's only so much that one person can do in a booth. Trying to be the analyst and the play-by-play, pretty difficult job. And yeah, I know MLS try to say, well, we're keeping our best of the best. But at the same time, right? There's only so much you can do, so much you can call with one person in the booth. So yeah, this is super difficult to read and to try to understand why MLS is doing this. And maybe, like you said, maybe they reverse course next season, but we shall see. But that's pretty much it. Now we're over on the podcast, and I'm sure you're ready to go to bed, Jose, just like I am. And it was good to finally do another live podcast. It's been way too long, but it is too a nice thing to record pre-recorded interviews, Jose, and then schedule them live and go ahead and spend time with your family or do other things in the evening time. So I appreciate everybody that tuned in live, got questions, your comments on the live stream on YouTube. We appreciate all the comments. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel live every single episode, youtube.com/freekickpod. And go ahead and check out my writing, the goals breakdown videos, and the podcast all in one place, thefreekick.substack.com. And Jose, you can go ahead and follow him at I'll pull it up.
At Jose R. Nunes 91, I believe. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Beyond that, I guess just very happy to, officially announce MLS is bringing me back for the weekly match reactions, whether I actually write one or I end up watching a game and not having to write one because I somehow got attached to what was the one game I genuinely gave feedback. I said, I don't think you want anything written about this game. I think it was Kansas City versus Minnesota or some game like that, where it's just like it was 0-0 or it was 1-0, and I would have written something not helpful to the sport if I had to write a report or match reactions about a game like that. So happy to be back doing it again this year. But I guess the last thing I'll say is the Union did bring in Bruno Damiani 4 days before the first match of the season last year. So they can leave it late. So not hinting at anything, just setting the expectation. It's a marathon with this club, and news will happen before we know it.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. So with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.